The Buffalo Bills have a huge matchup against the New England Patriots this week on the Wandering Buffalo podcast.
You're now listening to the Wandering Buffalo podcast with your host, Justin Goddard.
Bills Mafia, welcome into this week's episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast. My name is Justin, and I'm your host. And for starters, I want to apologize for the absence over the last couple weeks between traveling to see family for holidays, some stuff going on at home. My wife and I unexpectedly taking in a foster dog. Things have just been kind of crazy. So going to try to get back on track here. Maybe a little bit of a different formatting of the show coming up. Going to try to do shorter episodes, but maybe more of them, and just try to continue getting content out to all of you while life is being pretty crazy right now. But that said, couple big wins for the Bills, moving to 9-4 on the season, and honestly, as rough as it's felt at times, I think my perspective kind of right now is, as rough as it's felt at times, if you told me before the season, sitting at week 13, we were going into week 14, we were 9-4, like I'd be fine with that. Knowing that we're making a playoff push, not giving me the context of the rest of everything going on. And yes, there's been growing pains along the way, but it's something that I've talked about a lot throughout this season, of particularly on the defensive side of the ball, how much new there was, how much change there was going to be, how much we were leaning into some younger players. And from the beginning of the season, I thought the defense was going to maybe be a bumpy ride throughout this season, and it was, and that didn't factor in all of the injury luck we've had, and all that. I still kind of feel like the defense is coming together a bit as we start looking towards the playoffs, and I know there's still a few games to play here, and nothing's promised, but you look at pretty much any playoff predictor, it's got the Bills somewhere in the mid 90s of making the playoffs. And that's kind of always been my expectation. So I'm going to continue having that expectation until kind of evidence tells me otherwise. But looking at some of the change that's happened throughout the season, with Shaq Thompson added into the lineup, run defense has gotten significantly better. Like, we've seen Jordan Poyer be able to come in and kind of stabilize the position next to Cole Bishop, which has let him blossom. We still have Max Hairston kind of platooning with Trey White, which is something that, if you told me at the beginning of the season was still happening, I would have been concerned. But I think Trey White's really kind of gotten his groove back, and he's been playing pretty well. I'm not saying that there's not concerns. There obviously still are concerns, namely on the defensive side of the ball. Our pass rush is almost non-existent. But that's, to me, also going with, some of the injuries that we've dealt with along the way, and the ones that are kind of controllable are looking to be tracking in the right direction. And seeing this week's initial injury report, it's got to be the smallest one I've seen the whole season, probably even going damn near to week 1, because we didn't come into the season fully healthy. Looking at, Bosa being out with this hamstring, and maybe that being a little bit of a blessing in disguise to give him a couple weeks off with this wrist. He was playing fantastic. Then he kind of had to switch to playing one-handed, and it wasn't great. Give him this time, get ready for this playoff push. Our Bills Mafia collective goal was, I don't really care what Bosa does in the regular season. Let's see it in the playoffs. And I think it's kind of a position where you've already had to deal without him. So if it's erring on the side of caution and you give him a couple extra weeks, make sure he's ready to go for the playoffs. Seen videos of Ed Oliver like working out. I saw him tossing his kid up in the air, doing push-ups. It looks like he's trending in a good direction to, make that playoff return like the hope was. And, I wish Michael Hoyt was going to be back in the mix as well, that psychopath that he is. But when you're talking about a pass rush that's been kind of non-existent over the last few weeks, just the simple idea of being able to add Oliver back into the mix, get Bosa healthy, you're no longer relying on TJ Sanders to be an under-rep rookie playing out of position. You can get him back to playing defensive tackle, kind of get him the reps where he belongs, and who knows, maybe some of that playing out at the edge will still help in his development, but being able to kind of move him back into a depth role as he develops because Ed Oliver's out there. I think that's huge for this defense going forward. And honestly, again, as bad as it's felt at times this season, and as much as you can look around the conference and be like, Chiefs and Ravens and Bengals all having down years for, varying different reasons for each team. But I think maybe at best you get one of those three teams in the playoffs. I can't imagine they all miss. And, that's one of the things where, you feel like it should be a year where the Bills would be able to get the 1 seed, but we've dealt with our own things. And to me, it's always kind of been, yeah, the 1 seed is great. I want the home playoff games. I would love the week of rest, especially with how banged up we've been this season. But ultimately, get me to the playoffs with Josh Allen as my quarterback, and there's a chance. And kind of looking at the playoff field, like I said, between Chiefs, Ravens, and Bengals, I think the Bengals are very unlikely with the loss we've just given them. But I see one of Ravens and Chiefs making it, and that comes largely to do with the Colts and, dealing with an injury with Daniel Jones. And I don't know how it's going to go, but I freaking love that their move was to bring in Phillip Rivers to play. I mean, you'd like to think that there was a better option out there than a guy that's been retired for 5 years, but hell, man, for for the enjoyment of watching football, uh, I love that. Well, we'll see what happens, but they're sitting just outside the playoffs at 8-5 right now. I don't think it highly likely that Phillip Rivers is able to save the season and get them back in the playoffs. But when we're kind of looking at the playoff field right now, I mean, we're talking Denver's the 1 seed, New England, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Buffalo sitting at the 6th seed, and Houston's at the 7th seed. I feel like that's going to shake up a lot and be very different come the end of the season. Maybe Miami's able to sneak in there. Don't look now, but I think they've won like 6 of their last 7. I don't know how it's going to all shake out, but when I look at the list of teams ahead of us, it's not something that gives me there's not a team on there that gives me overwhelming concern when we're talking about coming into any of these games with Josh Allen as our quarterback. And yeah, you can say Houston if we would end up matching up against them. Um, playing against Houston has been a house of horrors for Josh Allen. You look at how rough the game was this year. You look at last year. Last year was a game where he went 9 for 30. And as bad as those games were, and as much as defensively they seem to have the Bills' number, we're talking a game where Josh Allen was 9 for 30 last year, and we lost by 3. You're talking a game where it was a just absolutely brutal performance from the Bills, and we lost by 4 with a chance to win the game this year. So, I mean, as daunting as that defense is, I think we can pretty easily look at that game in hindsight and understand that we played a good amount of that game with Deion Dawkins playing with a concussion that wasn't really reported till after the game, and Spencer Brown playing way too long with an injured shoulder and getting no help in pass protection. And we've seen a lot of chipping the 2 games following the Houston game. So, I mean, Houston probably the most intimidating list on those teams right now, just with their defense. And I think just with what we've learned from that game and the 2 games following, I think there'd be a lot better of a plan to go in and attack Houston. So ultimately, just kind of sitting with playoffs just a few weeks away, just kind of looking at this idea that as long as you have Josh Allen, you have a chance. And I've always kind of had this feeling that if and when the Bills are able to win the whole damn thing, it's not going to be like this clean projection year where we're everybody's favorite and everything is sunshine and rainbows. Like this team, this organization, McDermott, Josh Allen, I think they love having that chip on their shoulder. I think they love being counted out. I think they love being the underdogs. And it just feels like there's so many reasons why this shouldn't be the year for the Bills. And feel like it very well could be. I think things are coming together at the right time. I think the AFC is wide open. I think that as much as everybody wants to already have crowned New England the division champs, I mean, we play them this Sunday, and if they beat us, the division is a wrap. It's done. If we beat them, yeah, you're talking about needing some help. You're talking about, not being able to slip up yourself. The division with 4 games left is still very much in play. Honestly, to a certain extent, the 1 seed is not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, you're talking 2 teams ahead of us in Denver and New England that have better records. If you're factoring in beating New England this Sunday, you're talking 1 game back from them and some tiebreakers. I could see a world where Denver slips up and drops a game or 2 as they finish out the season. It's a young team. It's a good defense, but they're not some terrifying world beaters. So, I mean, yes, the 1 seed is probably pretty lofty at this point. But for as rough as the season has felt at times, for the Fire McDermott, all that stuff that's happened, we're sitting here talking about it not being out of the realm of possibility to still be able to take the 1 seed with, a month left in the season. So excited for playoffs being right around the corner. Super psyched for a second crack at New England. Kind of this revenge game. If they win the division, whatever, that's fine. I would love to see them again in the playoffs. I don't want the door to the division being closed this Sunday in their house. I'd rather it happen in a different way than give them the satisfaction of, controlling the division in their house on their terms. Um, Probably doesn't matter all that much in the grand scheme of things, but I would like it better if we either continued winning the division or it happened in a different fashion. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Modern Buffalo. I thank you as always for joining me. Like I said, we're going to be doing a little bit of different formatting, maybe some different release dates with some quicker hit thoughts. So hit that subscribe button so you're not missing any of my thoughts along the way. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the show if you're enjoying it. We will be back next week with thoughts on this New England game and kind of breaking down the playoff picture as it starts falling into place a little bit more. So don't miss any episodes. We'll talk to you next week. Till then, and as always, go Bills.